Namaste everyone. This is a tribute to all the frontliners, to every single person from the doctors to the police to the cleaners who are there dealing with the COVID. What is it that takes away the humanity? We are human, but are we humane? I could not bear it when I heard of Dr. Simon Hercules, a neurosurgeon in Chennai, who devoted his life for his patients. And when he got the COVID infection, they did not even give him the dignity of being buried in a proper way as he wished. That was his last wish in his cemetery. Of all the surgeons, I can tell you as a surgeon, neurosurgeons work the hardest. I know a neurosurgeon whose wife divorced him because he came to see the third child on the fourth day after being in the theatre night and day. So when you have worked so hard, you spend night and day away from your family, everything, do you not deserve at least to have a decent end to your life after having served? Please, I appeal to you. What is this fear? What are you so afraid of? What is it which is stopping you from being human and humane? I cannot believe the stupidity. If the coronavirus spreads through droplet infection, that is through coughing, sneezing or speaking, I'm yet to meet a dead body which coughs or sneezes or speaks. So how can it spread from that? How ridiculous to live in so much fear. To get rid of your fear, I'm going to tell you a story. This is of Dr. Eben Alexander, who's written a wonderful book called The Proof of Heaven, A Journey into the Afterlife. And it's amazing. He was a neurosurgeon who would laugh at patients when they spoke about experiences where they died or they were having something. They would say, the patient is having a brain fart, the oxygen is low. So one day the same thing happened to him. He had a terrible headache and they rushed him into emergency. There he was lying down battling for his life. And the last was his son who screamed, really, Dad, I love you. And then he remembers his last words as, God save me. And then he was in the deepest coma. When they did a spinal tap to see what was the bacteria inside, he had a meningitis or the infection of the layers around the brain with the worst bacteria called the E. coli. You find it in toilets and that is in his brain. Not responding to any antibiotic, he's on the deathbed battling for his life, completely in the deepest coma. Nothing works. Finally, the doctors say they have to take him off the ventilator because there's no point anymore. And of course, the family had to agree. There were only two people who did not believe that. One was his young child who screamed and said, Dad, I need you, I love you, this is not your time. And then was his best, really like an elderly old lady in Washington who was praying with all her heart. On the other side, what is his journey? He leaves the physical body, the soul has left the body, he goes through different worlds, each one more beautiful than the other. The nature, the colors, everything is amazing. And then finally he sees this beautiful girl sitting on this butterfly of light, and she says, if you think this world is beautiful, I will take you to the most beautiful world, which is the home of God. She takes him by the hand, takes him there, and then completely leaves him. And at that moment he said he had the most bliss and peace and joy that he ever had in his life. He calls it the sanctum sanctorum of God. He could only hear an Om sound, and there was nothing else but you want to be there because that is your real home. And it's so beautiful, he doesn't want to come back. But then he hears only two people who had absolute faith. This lady from Washington who was praying, and his child who knew his father had to come back. And then, believe it or not, he had a spontaneous healing. He came out of the coma and everything became all right. It was a medical miracle how he survived from absolutely being dead to being completely well. So this is the power of faith and prayer and true love. And later, there are more interesting parts where he was actually an orphan who was adopted into a family again of neurosurgeons. And he gets a call from the orphanage saying that they want to meet, his real parents. They have found them, if he would like to meet them. And he goes running, and then his mother reveals the circumstances why she had to give him away as a child. And then they did marry the mother and father. And then again, he met his two younger brothers. And then when they're crying again, they say they lost his sister in an accident. And when they show the photograph, it's the same beautiful girl who was on the butterfly who took him there. That was his sister, who he had never met in this lifetime. So why I'm telling you this is that when you love each other, you meet in this life and after and forevermore. Maybe we have denied this neurosurgeon people threw stones at the ambulance, broke it. His friend had to take him in the middle of the night to bury him. But believe me, what we call the death day is actually the birthday into the divine world. He will get absolutely the greatest of flowers and blessings and angels and everything. I promise you this. Let it not be vain, his death. I see the struggle each of us as doctors are going through. Dr. Ashwamed in Mauritius right now. Everyone refused to operate on a pulmonologist who again treated a COVID patient, got the infection, is intubated on ventilatory support in a coma. So only one doctor had the courage to do the tracheostomy, and that was Dr. Ashwamed. Is it not a duty to pray for them? Dr. Pramila, who's working in the intensive care in the US, again, sacrifices everything, 24-hour shifts, no sleep, nothing, is offering to pick up another doctor's child from New York to bring them to safety. This is the kindness of doctors. I've seen my brother-in-law not sleep for days after a kidney transplant, not see the child, the wife, even now with the COVID infection. When I was born, my father was not there. They had just gone to Australia for his fellowship, and there I was born where my mother didn't even know anything about the country. She was bleeding, she was in a pool of blood. She calls my father, and what does he say? I'm sorry, I'm in the theatre, my patient is bleeding, I cannot come, you have to take yourself for the delivery. And an elderly lady, Mrs. Rapley, in Melbourne, took her and went, and that's how I was born. So doctors sacrifice every moment. Let Dr. Simon Hercules' death not be in vain. Please understand that this does not spread when a patient dies. Stop living in fear, because it's the fear which will kill you and not the corona. Please appreciate what the doctors are doing when they're living. Otherwise, they will stop working, they will stop seeing patients, and there will be no one to treat you. Whether you're clapping, lighting lamps for all of them, at least allow them to live, to work, and to die in peace, because that is the least what we can do. Thank you so much.